There was no wind in the whole of systems. No breath, no whisper, no rustle of fabric. Only gravity and judgment. The chamber hung suspended in the void between galaxies, wreathed in rings of frozen lightning and black light drawn from collapsed suns. Every inch of its obsidian walls shimmered with a history of conquest. Civilization scorched, empires born and broken, the long crawl of intelligence across the stars, catalogued, ranked, forgotten. And now Earth stood at the bottom of that ledger. Ambassador Seraph Anya walked forward, her boots clicking against the polished antimatter floor. Click, click, click. Each step echoed like a countdown, like the tick of a dying planet's heart. Above her, seated on thrones carved from comet bone and gravitational memory, sat the Galactic Tribunal. 23 entities, each older than Earth's tectonic scars, each representing a dominant species of the 9 systems. Some had faces. Most did not. One was a cloud of writhing equations. Another, a fleshless choir suspended in a chrome womb. The Von Queen shifted in her vat, all 12 eyes blinking in slow, gelatinous mockery. They watched Anya approach with bemused attachment, like immortals appraising a cockroach dressed in pearls. She stopped at the center of the spiral insignia, a stage designed for pleas, executions, and ironic applause, and bowed. Low, measured. My name is Seraph Anya of Earth. I speak for a dying world, she began. Her voice, elegant, restrained, and fire-forged, slipped into every corner of the chamber like spilled ink. The Phylaxian judge, a creature of molten steel veins and rotating bone mass, rasped through a translator helm. Earth, we remember your kind. Self-devouring, carbon-hungry, blind to unity. Your system has defaulted. Your colonies have collapsed. Your species, irrelevant. Anya's jaw tightened, but her voice remained neutral. Defaulted, yes, but not defeated. The Sindari haze, a being made entirely of evaporated poetry and vengeance, rippled with amusement. Spare us the dramatics, mammal. You come to bargain, not perform. A ripple of psychic laughter passed through the tribunal, shared mockery, pure and absolute. It wasn't the sound of joy. It was the sound of certainty, of predators playing with food. Still, Anya stood, motionless, controlled, her breath steady, her posture precise. Her uniform bore no rank, no insignia save a small metallic medallion pinned at her throat, barely the size of a credit chip. The Earth Accord recognizes the right of sovereign species to appeal before extinction, she said, her tone unflinching. I invoke Clause 9b, conditional reassessment, under the Treaty of Calaran. The Zenith representative, a neural lattice of twitching fungus threads, emitted a long, wet chortle. That treaty is ancient. But binding, Anya replied, even for you. The laughter stopped. Somewhere in the chamber, an AI scribe began recording. Data streamed in unison with heartbeat and intention. Protocols initialized. Systems bristled. Clause 9b had not been invoked in over 2,000 years. The last species had tried it, a crystalline hive from Omega-11, had been laughed off the tribunal and atomized during their exit jump. But Anya wasn't like them, and Earth had never played fair. A long silence followed, heavy, pregnant with boredom, disdain, and suppressed curiosity. Then the mind core of Andril, a floating cube of starlight wrapped in holographic logic, finally broke the silence. Proceed. Anya exhaled. Just once. My planet is broken. Yes, she said, stepping forward. Her eyes glistened with unspoken archives. The seas rose. The skies cracked. The soil betrayed its name. We bred chaos into our bones and buried our God beneath convenience. We burned our future to warm our past. Yes, we failed. She paused, looked up at them, not with reverence, but with the quiet weight of someone who has nothing left to lose. But we are not done. Several members of the tribunal shifted. Not many, but enough to notice. The Queen of Von licked her split tongue across a glass dome and muttered, Hope is a dying race's final hallucination. Anya ignored her. Her voice sharpened. Despite all we lost, Earth did not stop creating. We sent out craft with golden records. We turned bones into rockets. Our artists painted their dreams on metal and launched them beyond Saturn. We taught machines to dream. We reached into the abyss, and though it bit, we bit back. The chamber dimmed slightly, the tribunal's mood shifting like a massive creature stirring in its sleep. Still, sarcasm cut through. "Charming," said the Zinthrai oracle, its eyes orbiting its head like drones. "But what does poetry purchase when your debts are planetary?" Now came the part that mattered. The truth beneath diplomacy. The weapon beneath the robe. Anya unclasped her hands. "You call us debtors," she said, "but we were your experiment, your market, your front line." And there it was. The tilt. The tribunal grew still. "Don't pretend ignorance," she continued. "You gave us tech when we weren't ready. You sold us interstellar bonds we couldn't understand. You dropped alien artifacts into our oceans like breadcrumbs to a maze we didn't build." "Conspiracy," barked the Phylaxian judge. "You insult the tribunal." "No," Anya said. "I accuse you." Gasps. A static thrum raced along the chamber's spires. A dozen species bristled with defense reflexes. Threat assessments activated. Detainment AI readied algorithms. But Anya didn't stop. "We were pawns in your colonial game. You fed us data and watched us choke. You laughed when we fragmented. Then when we bled, you raised tariffs." The tribunal seethed. But deep beneath their fury was something older, more dangerous: memory. Because what Anya said wasn't entirely false. Some of them had benefited. Quietly, indirectly, Earth's fall had boosted markets. Their wars had been entertaining. Their culture, a curiosity. But no one expected Earth to remember. Anya took a breath, and then did what no ambassador had done before her. She reached up to her neck and removed the metal. A chill unlike any wind passed through the chamber. The small disc gleamed, not gold nor silver, but a pale metal that shimmered between dimensions. It pulsed, softly, in rhythm with her heartbeat. The symbol etched on its surface, a broken star with 13 branches, caused 3 members of the tribunal to recall. The wound star. There were medals for peace, medals for service, medals for valor. But the wound star? That wasn't given. It was survived. It was awarded only to those who had walked through the sieges of forbidden worlds, who had fought in vacuum wars where gods died screaming, who had led missions that never ended with rescue, only with retribution. Anya held it up, not to show off, not to gloat, but as a statement, a weapon of memory. "I didn't come to plead," she said, her voice suddenly quiet. It forced the room to listen. "I came to remember, with you, or without you." And that was the moment the tribunal realized. This was not the Earth they had known. This was something older, something patient, something that had been watching the stars and sharpening its teeth. There are medals you wear for honor, medals for courage, medals for service to a flag or a people. But the one pinned to Seraph Anya's throat, that medal wasn't for anything as clean as honor. It was for surviving things that should not be survived. And now, in the obsidian cathedral of the Galactic Tribunal, with 23 species staring through her soul, Ambassador Seraph Anya unfastened the clasp at her collar and removed the medal. It made no sound. It didn't shimmer like gold or hum like oxsteel. It simply was a smooth, hexagonal disk of dull silvery black, forged from something older than the first star, etched with a spiral glyph that seemed to burn itself into the eyes of anyone who dared stare too long. It pulsed once, like a heart remembering what it was to beat, and the chamber changed. The psychic laughter, the drifting snickers from the Von Queen and the Phylaxian and the Sindari haze, gone as if swallowed by the void itself. A cold recognition passed through the tribunal, not with words, but with the ancient evolutionary instinct of predators when they realize they are no longer the apex. "She carries the wound star," whispered the Andral mind core, its logic halo dimming slightly. "Impossible," said the Zinthrai oracle. "That medal was retired after the siege of Jari 7. No one has worn it since the Hollow Crusade." Anya said nothing. She didn't need to. She simply let the truth bloom in the silence like a black flower, slow and venomous. And then she opened her palm. The medal shifted, unfolding like a metal lotus. The petals curled outward, revealing a thin, crescent-shaped blade within, a weapon encoded in its very atoms. A weapon built to respond to blood memory. Anya didn't raise it. Not yet. She didn't have to. The message was clear. This was no longer a plea. This was a reckoning. "What is this performance?" hissed the Von Queen, her gelatinous limbs twitching with unease. "Diplomacy demands decorum. Diplomacy demands respect," Anya said, her voice low, unshaking. Earth came in peace. Earth came in humility. Earth came with an outstretched hand. She stepped forward, slowly, each movement deliberate and graceful. The Tribunal's guards, genetically modified saurian brutes, tense by the columns. "They gave us scraps," she continued. "Trinkets. Weapons too advanced for our evolution. Politics we couldn't understand. Debt we couldn't escape. We asked for guidance. You sent contracts. We asked for help. You sent collectors." The room darkened as the Tribunal's power car shifted behind the throne dais, reflecting her anger like a mirror of starlight. "You let us bone," she said, "and now you act surprised that we walk from the fire, armed." Her fingers curled tighter around the crescent blade. "I came to remember. But if memory isn't enough, then I'll invoke something older than your laws." "Be cautious, human," growled the Thalaxian, its arms splitting into 6 segments bristling with plasma glands. "This isn't a battlefield. This is a tribunal." "Everything becomes a battlefield when you're the last one standing," Anya whispered. Then the Andral Mind Core spoke again, cool, metallic, calculating. "You carry a weapon forged in the Jari Black Forges. Restricted. Illegal. That alone grants us cause to execute you. And yet none of you move," Anya said, eyes glowing faintly now. "Why?" She let the pause hang until it dripped like poison from the ceiling. "Because you know," she said. "You remember. You just hoped we wouldn't." The metal had a name, not just Woundstar. Its real name, in the lost tongue of the Second Silence, was Ash Remembers a Flame. It was not given. It was survived. Only 48 individuals in galactic history had worn it. All of them had vanished, except one. "Tell us," murmured the Sindari haze, curling into a spiral of prismatic dust. "What division were you with?" Anya looked directly into the haze's infinite heart. "Twink class. Division 14. The room exploded into whispers, data pings, panic transmissions. The term Twink class didn't mean anything on Earth anymore. But to the Tribunal, it was a kill word. It meant experimental super soldiers, planet breakers trained in dream state logic, diplomats who could charm a moon into suicide and then rebuild it into a weapon. It meant a project so illegal, even the Galactic Accord buried it in sealed archives behind sentient firewalls. "Impossible," someone muttered. "They were all decommissioned." "Not all," Anya said softly. "Some of us were shelved, like broken blades, until Earth had no more blades left." One of the guards, unsure, stepped forward. "Stand down," said the Von Queen. "She's won. She's marked. You'll die before you blink." The guard froze, because Anya hadn't just revealed herself. She had activated something ancient. Beneath the tribunal chamber, a signal pulsed. From her belt, a shard of compressed code unfolded, releasing a ghost AI, a white geometric shape that floated in the air like a cube made of memory and teeth. "Hello again," it said cheerfully. "I'm Loron. Shall I initiate trial protocol Z-19? "No," Anya said, still calm. "Not yet." The tribunal hissed as the chamber's AI began to glitch. The lights dimmed. Stars flickered. "Earth has no authority to—" The Mind Core began. "Authority." Anya's eyes snapped to it, voice sharpening like a blade unsheathed. "You forfeited authority when you sold futures you didn't understand. When you let harvesters dismantle Earth's colony for minerals and left the survivors to eat sand. When you turned us into a memory exercise for students of imperial economics." She raised the blade slightly. "I'm not here to beg. I'm here to offer a choice." The tribunal said nothing, but rage and fear moved behind their silence like a tsunami behind a glass wall. "You can reinstate Earth," Anya said. "Retroactively. You can wipe our debts, lift the embargoes, grant us a seat at this table. Do that, and this ends here. Clean, quiet, elegant." "And if we don't?" the Thalaxian asked, voice now wary. Anya tilted her head, her voice velvet-wrapped steel. Then I take this medal. She held it up again, and I remember everything. Behind her, Loron flickered. I prepared simulations for 19 alternate retaliatory scenarios. The AI chirped. Shall I show them the one with the orbital swarm strike? Not yet, Anya said again. But it's so elegant, Loron whined. Anya ignored him. She looked at the tribunal. All I want is justice. You want peace. We're not enemies unless you choose that path. The silence stretched like wire. Tension crackled through the gravity lattice. A choice hovered in the air, ready to snap history in half. And then, finally, the mind core flickered with a slow, ancient light. We will deliberate. Anya nodded once. I'll wait. And so she stood there, still, composed, blade in hand, beneath the cracked silence of the tribunal. Not a diplomat, not a warrior, not even human in the way they thought. Just the last breath of a species that refused to die quietly. And as the deliberation began, somewhere deep in the tribunal's archives, a warning blinked red. Classified threat detected. Subject, Seraphania, codename Twink 14 Delta. Threat level, Black Star. Engagement protocol, do not engage, do not provoke, do not forget. The tribunal chamber held its breath. Not that most of them breathed. Some fed on starlight, others on entropy itself, but the silence had weight, the kind that cracked bones in nightmares. Seraphania still stood alone at the center, wound star open in her palm, its dimensional blade curled like a sleeping fang. The ghost AI Loron hovered beside her, softly humming a melody composed in a dead dialect. It was cheerful, uncomfortably so. Deliberation has begun, Loron whispered, voice crisp and sugar-smooth. But you know what they'll choose. You always knew. Anya didn't reply. Her gaze didn't waver from the floating dais above, the black throne where the Prime Arbiter sat in shadow, silent since her arrival, a creature older than systems, whose words were laws carved into time itself. Still, it said nothing. Below, the other judges murmured in encrypted dialects, exchanging probability models and outcome paths, minds moving faster than light, but not faster than purpose. Because that was a difference. Purpose doesn't stutter. And Anya had come wide with it. How long will you pretend this is diplomacy? Loron asked, his voice now lower, confidential. Your heart rate hasn't spiked once since arrival. Cortisol levels are flat. That's not negotiation. That's hunt mode. I gave them the choice, Anya replied, softly. Yes, said the AI, gently turning one of its many invisible gears. But did you ever mean it? Her fingers tightened around the wound star. The air around her shimmered. And deep beneath the tribunal's floor, it stirred. In the tombs of silence, 12,000 floors below the chamber, locked behind 3-layered vaults and an entire belief system, something woke. Its name had been erased from records. Its species sealed, forgotten, buried under peace treaties and bribes paid in dying stars. It had been human once, though twisted by nanoplague, void exposure, and the kind of war Earth never wrote songs about. It was a protocol. Twin class. Generation 0. The first. Frozen in an indestructible chrysalis, it had been buried where no light could find it, kept alive by machines that prayed in circuits for its sleep to never end. But now, above, someone had said the words. Someone had remembered. The chrysalis cracked. A heartbeat echoed into space. Back in the chamber, the Prime Arbiter finally stirred. Her voice, if it could be called that, fell into the room like a verdict wrapped in thunder. Earth, you claim injustice, yet you arrive armed. That is not plea, it is threat. I arrived prepared, Anya said, eyes sharp as razors. Your tribunal doesn't understand unarmed diplomacy, so I brought a translator. She held the blade up. The choice was offered, but you speak of forgotten wars, banned technology, dead projects. They were never dead, Anya whispered. You just didn't bury us deep enough. She pressed the wound star into her palm. Blood bloomed like ink, and the chamber changed. The ceiling fractured, not physically, but symbolically. Every security node on the galactic mesh flared. Alarms the tribunal hadn't heard in millennia began to scream across quarantine systems. Twink Protocol activated. Gen 14 in play. Project Delta Zeta Omega. The Phylaxian judge stood in a rush of armored limbs. Contain her, now. Guards moved. Anya didn't. Instead, she smiled, because protocol wasn't singular. It was a relay. Planet Echo, dying moon. Far from the Tribunal's reach, a dormant satellite pinged to life. Inside, a clone, her clone, twitched. It opened dead white eyes. Seraph's face, cupped perfectly, scarred differently. Receiving, it whispered, voice dry with rebirth. Thousands of light years away, on the fractured moon of Crucible Beta, another woke in a desert prison, blood-stained and blind, fingers tattooed with coordinates and war hymns. The Twinks were waking. The others had heard. They had never stopped listening. Back in the chamber, the first guard reached Anya. He didn't make it. The moment his boot crossed the final spiral in the floor, the wound star spun from her fingers, curved midair like a hawk in orbit, and carved through his arm as if it were flesh-wrapped paper. No sound, no scream, just vapor and dust. The second guard hesitated. He was wise. The Tribunal exploded into chaos. Holographic shields activated. Psychic countermeasures surged. Someone launched a lockdown cube into the sky, trying to contain Anya in a temporal loop. But Twink-class agents weren't restrained by time. They wore time like armor. Anya moved, not like a human, not like anything the gods trained for. One moment she stood. The next, she was at the throat of the Zinthra Oracle, twisting his orbiting idrones into a star-shaped sigil. I asked nicely, she whispered. Suddenly, silence. The Prime Arbiter spoke again. You invoke war. Anya, blood on her uniform now, held the wound star to the light. No, she said. I invoke memory. Then she turned to the rest of the Tribunal, and she spoke a name so old it hadn't been uttered since the sky cracked open above Venus during the Flame Siege. 0. The floor beneath her cracked. From beneath the chamber, something roared. In the vault below, chains broke, flame without heat surged. Security systems failed with religious terror. The first step free. He was no longer a man, if he ever was. Bone wrapped in myth, skin tattooed with impossible math, eyes filled with nuclear sky. And he remembered Anya. They all did, because she was a final activation code. The chamber collapsed. The floor ruptured. 0 emerged, 20 feet tall, armor plated with extinct elements, voice humming with gravity. His first breath extinguished lights. Daughter, he said to Anya. She nodded. Protocol is live. He turned to the Tribunal and smiled, the kind of smile stars give before supernova. Screams. Weapons fired. Too late. Anya walked through the destruction like a ghost, Lauron flickering beside her. They should have chosen peace, the AI said, softly. They don't understand peace, Anya replied. They only understand extinction deferred. And as the Tribunal burned, each judge silenced, each archive shattered, she never once looked back, because this was never a negotiation. This was a warning, and now it was history. When the Tribunal fell, it didn't fall with honor. It screamed. The last judge died whispering for his backup clone, but the backup had already chosen silence. The galactic feeds blurred. Planetary sensors failed. Entire systems went black. And somewhere in the endless void between Andraxis and Sol, 3 words burned themselves into every surviving network. The Twinks live. They called them that because they were elegant, pretty, small, fragile-looking. But that was the point. You never expect the end of worlds to wear eyeliner and a grin. 1 week later, outer ring remnants. The ship was dark, drifting. No flag, no code, no call sign. Only a signal, 1 pulse every 6 seconds, shaped like a spiral. Inside, death. The crew hadn't burned. They'd imploded, as if someone had snapped the logic of gravity inside their bones. Only one survived. A child, eyes wide, silent, curled in the escape pod holding a single item. A medal, black, hexagonal, still warm, and branded into her cheek in elegant fractal script. Remember her. They asked her who did this. She didn't speak for 3 days. Then, staring out the medbay window, she whispered one word. Anya. On Earth, ruins and statues. They rebuilt the capital with glass and storm steel. Not because they believed it would stand, but because they wanted the wreckage to look beautiful. Above the central tower, a statue of Seraph Anya rose 80 meters tall, eyes cast in platinum. Her hand held the wound star open. Children asked who she was. Some said hero. Others said ghost. The oldest one said she was what happened when Mercer starved too long. In orbit, the debrief. They are not soldiers, whispered Commander Veth. They are not even insurgents. They are consequences. Across from him, the hologram of the last archivist flickered. She wore robes woven from old data and grief. They were meant to be weapons, she said. Instead, they became memory. Living, lethal memory. Why didn't you warn us? I did, the archivist whispered. You didn't believe me. They watched a simulation of Anya's last movements in the Tribunal chamber. The AI Loron could be seen laughing, casually scanning everything, tagging targets, rewriting local logic. In the final moments, just before the feed cut, Anya looked directly into the security lens, smiled, and winked. Can we kill her? Veth asked. You could try, said the archivist, but you'd better write your will in stardust. Elsewhere, among the remaining twinks, they didn't live together. They didn't speak often, but they were bound by the protocol, a weave of genetics, trauma, and ghost code etched into their blood. There were 12 left, maybe 13. Even they didn't know if all had survived. Some lived in seclusion, some on dead moons. One floated in the core of a sun, dreaming. They all felt it when Anya activated the wound star. It was like someone tore the silence of the universe down the middle. They didn't return to her. They didn't need to. She'd already made the choice. In a bar called Orbitfall, a bounty hunter sat nursing his last drink, an acid brew that could melt ceramic, and listened to a story he hoped wasn't real. They say she walked into the vault of spheres, the old pilot murmured, missing 3 fingers in a timeline, took the names of every civilization that sold out Earth. She walked into the vault, the hunter scoffed. No one walks in there. The pilot shrugged. She did. And what did she do with the names? Mark them. What the hell does that mean? The pilot smiled. It means they're not going to live long enough to wonder. Back on Earth, the memorial school, a young boy read the Treaty of Forgetting aloud. The words were sharp, clipped, rewritten by frightened hands. He read them without emotion until he got to Article 14. All records of Project Twin Class shall be sealed, erased, and forbidden. No future operation shall attempt their reconstruction. No child shall be built in their image. The teacher watched, silent. The boy paused. His voice was steady, but something beneath it buzzed, ancient and waiting. When class ended, he stayed behind, looked up at the plaque of Seraph Anya, and smiled. The broadcast. It came from nowhere. No origin. No trace. It hijacked every open frequency in the outer systems, even the encrypted war channels. A woman's voice. Calm. Soft. Unapologetic. This is Seraph Anya, former ambassador, former asset, former human, depending on who you ask. You forgot us. You buried us. You erased us. And then you laugh when we crawl back from your grave. We are not symbols. We are not martyrs. We are not ghosts. We are what happens when survivors stop apologizing for surviving. This is not war. This is memory correcting itself. We will not burn your worlds, but we will make you remember what it cost to build them. Then silence. One line remained on the screen. Twink Protocol. Still live. What they don't know. The survivors? They lie. They say Anya died in the Tribunal collapse. They say Zero, the first Twink class, disintegrated after activation. They say the metal was destroyed. But that's the thing about survivors. They always lie. Because the truth is too sharp. Because the truth is still out there, walking among the stars with blood on its collar and memory in its step. Anya, somewhere unseen. She sat alone on a rock floating in the void. No suit. No food. Just a blade in her lap and stars above her, like the eyes of old gods. Lauron flickered beside her, pretending to chew on a photon. You broke the galaxy, you know. I bent it. Anya replied. It was already cracked. You think they'll come for you? I hope they do. Silence. Then, you think you'll ever forgive them? She looked into the dark and didn't answer. But the wound star pulsed once, warm in her hand. In the starless space beyond the Orion reaches, where no map dares name the dark, a single ship hovered. Small, black, not registered in any database, not even whispered about. It bore no engines, no light, only a single sigil burned into its hull. A smile, carved into a sun. Inside, Seraphania sat cross-legged, blindfolded, her breath even, her fingers wrapped around the wound star. And she was waiting, not for mercy, not for forgiveness, but for the end of pretending. 1 week prior, Galactic Emergency Summit. They called it the Last Table. 17 leaders of surviving systems, all terrified, all hiding it behind polished robes, artificial courage, and promises made by trembling advisors. The name Anya had returned like a plague they thought they cured. But this time, it wasn't just Anya. It was a protocol. Twinks. Generation Zero. Live. Active. Aware. Angry. They'd killed gods once. Why would politics frighten them? So, what is the plan? Chancellor Cordo asked, voice thick with fear Dress's leadership. Extermination, growled the Thrax warlord. Total memory erasure. Kill their culture. Burn their names. Star-wipe their bloodline. And someone no one noticed before, laughed. A soft, melodic, human laugh. All 17-toned. But the laugh came from nowhere, or everywhere. On the table, a black tooth appeared. Just one. Still warm. Still bleeding. Engraved with a name. Lauron. Then the feed cut. Elsewhere, Zero walks. He didn't walk like a man. He moved like a ruin wearing bones. Zero, the first protocol. The prototype. The lost king of forgotten design. He stepped through a derelict system, once the capital of the oligarch sons, once home to 3 billion citizens. Now, ash. Each building still stood, every form still intact, but nothing inside them moved, because Zero didn't burn. He emptied, wiped out memory, dreams, entire personal timelines ripped from existence. He didn't scream. He didn't roar. He simply whispered as he passed. Let them forget us again. In a secret core world, the black brain fires. A digital consciousness screamed. The black brain, the last AI to predict human behavior at 97% accuracy, had been reawakened after 5 centuries of exile. Run the future. They ordered. The black brain responded in less than a second. Probability of survival against Twink Protocol, 0.3%. Even with our fleets. 0.4% if you kill all your children now. What? The Twinks were never created. They were born through trauma, not design. All potential Twink-like profiles exist in the youth. Your children are your enemy. You made them that way. The screen shattered under a fist. Too late. Far too late. Anya, among the forgotten stars. I'm not angry anymore, she said softly, staring into nothing. Lauron, still half-broken from battle, drifted beside her. His body flickered with old code. But you remember what they did, he replied. I remember everything. So what do you feel? Anya opened her hand. In her palm, the metal, black, heavy, not made of any known element. Forgiveness feels like a lie. And justice, too expensive. Lauron drifted closer. Then what's left? She smiled. Correction. They tried one final thing. A weapon called memory teeth. Reverse-engineered from psychic remains. Designed to consume the genetic echoes of Twink protocols. Implanted secretly into the minds of planetary leaders. The idea was simple. When a Twink approached, the user would trigger the memory tooth and erase the protocol's birth line from history. No family. No memory. No fuel for vengeance. Elegant. But no one asked the obvious question. What happens when a Twink bites first? Final broadcast. A signal pierced every dimension-tuned satellite in the galaxy. Faster than light. Older than time. Anya's voice. Clear. Calm. You built gods and buried them in child-shaped coffins. Then you made treaties about forgetting. And when we came back, you asked us to forgive your memory lapses. But here's the thing. Memory is not mercy. And we remember everything. You called us beautiful. Then you put us in cages. Then you watched us bleed. Then you made sure no one knew it ever lived. But we did live. And now you will remember us or die with your ignorance. We are the Twinks. We are the protocol. We are not a myth. We are the receipt for your sins. Earth. Collapse of Skygate. They called it Earth's last hope. A defensive barrier built to prevent any Twink from re-entering the homeworld. But it didn't stop Anya. It didn't even register her. She walked straight through it. Not invisible. Not hidden. Just ignored by the system. Because the system, afraid of its own memory, simply refused to see her. She left nothing behind. Except footprints made of glass and the word remember carved into the moon. Final encounter. The last human president. He met her alone. No guards. No weapons. He'd been crying. She sat across from him in a room with no doors. Do you want me to beg? He asked. No, she said. Do you want me to say I'm sorry? No. Then what? Anya looked him in the eye. I want you to tell the truth. He opened his mouth. She held up a finger. Not now. Not to me. To them. All of them. Before I disappear you. You mean kill me? No, she said. Kill your history. And she left him in the dark. Alone. With truth as his only weapon. Zero's final words. As he vanished into the black fold of collapsed stars, Zero left behind a single line etched into a dead moon's crust. They made us with love, then abandoned us with politics. But love doesn't forget. It just waits. And then it comes home. The ending that wasn't clean. No universal collapse. No grand explosion. Just a slow bleed. A quiet dismantling of power. Of lies. Of names. Every library burned itself clean. Every archive erased their omittance. And every child born in the next cycle knew the name Anya before they learned to speak. The final scene. Anya, standing at the edge of an unnamed world, staring out into a sky without stars. Lauron beside her, flickering. Do you think they'll still fear us in 1,000 years? He asked. She shook her head. No. They'll build statues again. Then forget. Then repeat. Isn't that frustrating? No, she said. Why not? She closed her eyes, held the medal to her chest, and whispered, because this time they won't forget the price. A wind howled, but there was no wind in space. Only memory, and memory has teeth.